Okay, so we've done the overview on the parts of the Bren gun, what does what. So now it's time to just talk about it in a little bit more detail. As you can see, it's fairly sizable. It's quite heavy as well, to be honest. It's about 10.3 kgs empty, just over 11 kgs loaded. So it's not the lightest piece of kit to be toting around. As you may know, it was the British Army's light support weapon, or squad automatic sort of weapon, during the Second World War and beyond. It was originally designed in Czechoslovakia. I'm just going to put it down because it is quite heavy. As the ZB-26. Now, as the ZB-26, it was in the 792 millimetre German cartridge that was in the G98, 98K, and the MG42. However, obviously, and 34 actually, and obviously the British Army was well involved in the 303 cartridge, which is why we now have this curved magazine. Originally it was straight. This just facilitated the rimmed round, so you ended up with a very distinctive banana shape, which probably has created quite an iconic outline of a firearm, which everyone would immediately recognise as a Bren gun. So as I mentioned, in the 30s it was developed. At the time the British were testing the Vickers Bertha, the BAR, the American Browning Automatic Rifle, and also the Mazda gun. It's a gas operated piston. I don't know if you can see. So you've got your piston here, this comes down, drives a rod which actuates the bolt. Now the bolt, I've cocked it at the moment. Fires from an open bolt. Cock it. This is a Mark II version as we discussed earlier, so it hasn't got a folding handle. It's got the fixed one. You just pull that back until it locks into place and then you squeeze off. And that will start the fire process. The bolt is non-reciprocating, so once you've cocked it and fired, that will then just stay in place. You won't have to worry about this going back and forth, catching your hands. We talked about earlier the barrel. The barrel is quite a hefty piece of metal. It was designed to be able to be quickly replaced, unlike things like the Vickers heavy machine gun at the time. The idea was you'd fire a good few magazines, the barrel get warm, take it off, replace it with another one. Your number two would be a two-man gun team. Number one gunner would fire the gun, and the number two gunner, he would carry ammunition, toolkit, and most importantly, the spare barrel. I think later models had a chrome lined barrel, which obviously aided in barrel wear and and helped with cleaning. However, I wouldn't necessarily say it was a problem, but there's rumours go around that the gunners preferred the barrels that had been shot out of it. The Bren was quite an accurate weapon, and that's not always what you need with a machine gun. You want the beaten zone, or the spread of fire, to obviously spread out. So the rumour is that they preferred the worn out barrels because the bullets would therefore spread a little bit further. You will get a slightly less tight group, which is something most people is try and wander away from with shooting, but it's not the machine gun's role. So around this trigger assembly, whilst we're talking about the cocking handle, on this side, as you saw earlier, you've got the safety catch and the selector catch. It's sort of all rolled into one. So if I just cock the weapon. Right, sorry about that. A slight technical hitch. Don't know why it was jammed. It's working now. So put it on safe, and the gun won't fire. Won't go off. Put on automatic. It'll go. Back is semi-automatic, but I don't think it was really ever used. I don't see any reason why with a machine gun, but it was said that you could pick off individuals without going back to the old accuracy thing that we talked about earlier. So as you see, there's a dust cover here for the magazine. So this is when it was in transit. Slip that on, no dust gets on the bottom. I don't know how well you can see it. There's another at the bottom here, which covers the ejection port. And usually the Bren gun ejects from the rear, from the underside, so you'd end up with piles underneath the weapon rather than a lot of weapons which kick them out at the side. Well, more modern day weapons, to be fair. A lot of older weapons, such as the Vickers heavy machine gun, did eject underneath, and so did a lot of the other Maxim style designs. So moving back, we've actually got the folding rear sight. The sights, I don't know if you can see, are offset. It's obviously because you have a whopping great 30-round magazine in the way, which would obscure your view. So these are just simple by screwing the knob. You can graduate the sights, I believe, up to 1600 yards. That 1600 yards is obviously very hopeful. If you can see it, that's probably more an indirect fire. I've got a sustained fire tripod, which you could have small adjustments to put indirect fire maybe over a hill or into a wood or something based on map references. But this isn't really what this gun was for, so the tripod didn't really ever get used that much. It was more used with this, the tripod here. It's just a little A-frame one that swivels and tucks away actually very neatly. I'll just show you that. Tucks away quite neatly underneath there, which kind of doubles as a carrying handle or just a slightly more comfortable place to hold the gun out whilst carrying. If needs be, you could fire on the move. But the normal procedure was to fire from the prone position, whereas you're never going to be super accurate on a prone position with a machine gun, but it'd be good enough to do what a machine gun's designed to do, keep people's heads down or engage fleeting targets. So 6, 7, maybe 800 metres, but as we know, most infantry engagements take place about 300 or less, if not down to stuff under 100 and around that mark, which the 303 cartridge has got plenty of oomph to do the job at that range. So, as I mentioned earlier, this is a Mark II. So this was probably one of the more prolific made versions of the gun. Mark II was simplified basically, as most of them are, for war production. So originally the Mark I had a butt strap, so when you were lying down it hung over onto the back of your shoulder to give it some purchase. A rear sort of handle that would go down here to hold on. Telescopic bipod, whereas this one's just a fixed one that goes up and down like that, so you don't adjust the height, and a folding cocking handle. The cocking handle I think was also a little bit longer than the Mark II. Other things as well, they just simplified the breech to make manufacturing and milling easy. One thing that always is spoken about the Bren gun is the fact that it was a very reliable weapon. I think it was very well liked by troops. The length of service in the British Army and other forces, I think, really speaks for itself. Versions of the Bren gun were in service obviously from the 30s right up and through till the very early 90s, 91. Obviously by that stage they'd been converted into 7.62 NATO, so they'd done away with the curved magazine and had the straight box magazine similar to that of the SLR, but I think a 30-shot version, although the SLR1 would fit in it. Obviously, with it being a British weapon, it was made all over the place. Obviously, there was the Royal Small Arms Factory at Enfield, who made just thousands of the things. I think initially they were doing 400 a month, and by 43 they're doing, I could be wrong, but about 3,000 or 4,000. I think 4,000 might be a bit topping. But everywhere around the Commonwealth, there was Lithgow, Inglis, India, Ishapur, Long Branch, they all made them. So there was plenty of them being kicked about, hence why they stayed in service for so long. There are other marks. I think there's a Mark III and a Mark IV, very slight variations, such as a shorter barrel for maybe airborne troops. But I've never actually seen one, but I'm sure they're about. I'm sure some people would happily shed some light onto those. But all in all, it is a good weapon. I'll disassemble it in a moment for you to see what it all looks like as far as I can take it apart. Now this is, as I mentioned earlier, a UK DIAC, which means it's pretty much ruined. You can't do anything with it. It's a shell. You'll see when I take it apart some of the things they've done to make it inoperable. But for instance, the barrel, I think they put a pin in through here, welded it up, the barrel's welded at both ends, so you can't take the barrel off. Firing pin, the breech mechanism's knackered, the feed, everything's just, it wouldn't work. The only thing that really sort of does work is the trigger mechanism, which is quite nice that does function. It can cock it. I'm just going to again put it down because it's getting heavy. Obviously, not having had the benefit of being able to carry it and use it and shoot it, apparently if we had something like this, we'll go on shooting sprees in the UK, same with handguns and self-loading rifles. But anyway, it's another topic. I can't really comment on what it's like. The reports that I've read, it's controllable, keep it into some bursts, it's accurate, you're not going to go too far wrong with it. I think the soldiers, as I said, really liked it because it was reliable. 30 round magazines, although they're 30, they're more than the BAR, but also it wasn't a belt fed weapon, so you weren't trying to lug around belts of ammunition or boxes which can get dirty, get in the way, trip you up if you've got them around your neck or something silly like that. So, as I said, the number one, he fired it. The number two, who carried the toolkit, the spare barrel, extra ammo, he had it in the 1937 style webbing patches, sort of a chest rig, and then everybody in that squad, or platoon, sorry, we call them platoons, would carry a couple of boxes of ammo for the gunner. The benefit of this, like the BAR, I suppose, and the MG34 and 42, was the fact that it fired the standard rifle cartridge, which meant your average infantryman could help supply ammunition if they needed some, so take some out stripper clips and pop them into a spare magazine like this. So it was never really a supply issue. If you had a different round feeding this, the machine gun. So I think what I'll do now is progress on to a strip of the gun, just so you can see what it actually looks like taken to bits, or as far as I can do it. I'll also give you a couple of shots of the tripod and it mounted. But if you've enjoyed this, feel free to comment, ask any questions. I'll do my best to answer them. I'd love to someday go and fire one, but who knows when that might be, or if I can even get hold of one. But I should imagine it won't be in this country. But yeah, I'll get onto the disassembly for you, and you can have a look at that. Any questions, pop them in the comments box below, and I'll do my best.